Okay, here is my explanation for how the leaderboard mechanic works in our golf game. So each of these courses have their own individual stroke count that get added to an array once you hit the flag. So it'll add it to the strokes per hole array. This way, when you beat a hole, it gets sent to the next hole. No matter for the player convenience, if you want to start at the beginning of this hole, and you got like here, and you had like 50 strokes, you could reset back to the start of this hole, and you will keep the amount of strokes you had from there. But this course is the amount of strokes you got on this course will be reset. And then once you get through all of them, and all those strokes have been added to an array, you get here, the end of the level. This will add the stroke to the array, the strokes from this little bit to the array. Then it'll add all the strokes together, giving you the total stroke, the amount of strokes it took to beat this level completely. Once that's done, it'll then check if you made the leaderboard. This will get the amount of strokes on the current save slot. So when you start the game, the main menu widget here, when this is loaded, it'll save at its construction. It'll create saves for each level, so you have stats to beat, and they are all added to the saves to a player score array, and saved in its own little save slot for each level. So level 1, 2, and 3. So it'll get each of the player scores from the array and do a for each loop from them. This will add for the number in. So if it's less than the current number in at the end, it'll just add you in anyway, unless it's already been added. It'll then do a macro that I've created to check if your total strokes, are less than the current strokes stored in the array, or if it's equal to them. If it's not less than, and if it is equal to, so you both have 5 strokes, then it'll check the minutes and the seconds. If it's the same, but the minutes are less, then it'll go to the seconds. If the minutes are higher, it won't be added. So you can't have 2 stats of the same score. Same with the seconds. So if the minutes are the same, but the seconds are higher than the current seconds, it won't be added. So you can't spam the leaderboard with a bunch of the same score. If it goes through and you manage to make the leaderboard, it'll create the name widget. If not, nothing happens. Once that's completed, it'll then check if it has been added. If it hasn't been added, it'll check if the number of scores are the correct amount, so that the leaderboard won't be completely empty. If not, then the player can just add another name to the leaderboard. If they both fail, so if this is true, it's been added before, I'll go straight to the next level without worrying about adding your name. Same with this. It's just a precaution. Once the leaderboard name has been created, so this widget, it will create a text, editable text box at the bottom of the screen. I've made it so that you can only add 8 characters to it, so that you don't have an overtly long name, but still quite lengthy. Then it'll check if the text is not empty, or it'll check if the text is empty in this case. Yeah, if the text is not empty, it'll check. If the text is empty, it'll change the hint in the editable text box to "you need a name," and I'll set a boolean called "not empty" to false. If it isn't empty, it'll go through a list of banned words, which are currently just a bunch of spaces. This is so that you can't add an empty name to the leaderboard. So if any of them are banned, it'll set that boolean to true, and then once it's completed, if any are true, nothing will happen. If you edit it and everything's fine, it'll set not empty to true, and will let you then commit that text to the level end leaderboard. That's on committed. Then you'll have to click the next button, so it'll make sure that this text isn't empty. Then it will just go straight to the next part, the level end. No. Then it'll go to the level end leaderboard. Yeah. So once it's committed, it'll go to the level end leaderboard here. This, for each it'll check what level you're on. Then it will do basically the same as the naming widget. It'll go through each player's score, checking if they're higher or lower than the current score that it's on there. If so, it'll add it to a reference array. But if you do get through it, it'll change the player name to the current player name and the time to the current player time, and it'll add it to the. And then once all that's completed, and it's been added to the array, it'll then check if the number in is correct, if it's been added or not. If they're both true, it'll just add it to the array anyway. If they're both false, then it'll just create the save game slave. It'll create the save game object, adding all those scores to the player score currently, and then it'll save it to the slot. Then it will go to the end level, which will create the UI for the end level, which is here, and it'll, just like the others, check which level you're on, get the player score for each one, and make sure it'll set the right amount that need to show up. So currently it's set to 5, because we don't want too long a leaderboard. And I'll create a widget for each one. If not, and it goes beyond 5, it'll just remove it from the widget. And if it's been removed, at the end of it all, it'll save the game to the slot. So you don't have an abnormous amount on here. So, to show you it works, I will show you not getting the high score, but a score in the middle. So I failed. So it didn't show the name, but it showed the leaderboard. That was the meaning of that. Okay. So 18. As you can see, the time's currently 20, or 19. I can't just add in nothing. Can't just add in spaces. It's got to be a name. And test shows up. 18, nearly 20 seconds, but 19. In the correct position too. So that is how the level leaderboard works. From the main menu all the way to each ending for the flag.